Om Satoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my talk today is the glory of divine name. As you know, name is very important. We are all having our own names, and all objects in this universe that we recognize have got a name. So in that way, name is very important, and we can utilize name as a spiritual practice. So since ages, since very ancient times, it has been discovered that by taking name, one can realize God or one can realize one's true self. So today's subject matter is divine name. That means the names are there. In what way the names have to be uttered to be spiritually successful, and what are do's and don'ts of uttering the name, and what the teachers have said about divine name. That means why and how and when these divine names are really very effective, and those were successful. Successful means those who have realized God by repeating the name. Their opinions or their experiences we shall share. So, how to love God and surrender to Him whom we have never seen is a question that is often arises. So, you know that we always hear about God, and some of us definitely are into the search of God. So, there are many ways that has been said, and uh, as we know that some people are very devotional. That means they do not ask any question, but just go to the temple, do meditation, do spiritual practice, or whatever they can understand or they have heard, they try to emulate in their lives. So once Swami Adbhutananda, a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, was asked one question: how actually the God whom we do not know, we only hear, and where is he, we do not know, and will respond if we repeat his name. So this is a very valid question. That means anything unknown, if we call by the name, whether it will respond or not. That is a good question. So he answered it very logically and understandably. So he says, it does not matter if you do not know him. It doesn't matter. That means whether you know God or do not know God, that does not matter actually. So you know his name. So God has different names according to different religion. God has been given different names, and also different aspects of God also has been given names. So in that way, we have different names of God that we know. Like, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, then Rama, Krishna, then Allah, Jesus, and all those names are there. And we know that they are respected as God. Just take his name. See, he's continuing, he's saying, just take his name and you will progress spiritually. Just repeat his name, take his name, and you will progress spiritually. That means you will be able to concentrate your mind, and also with concentration of the mind, other benefits also will come. Peace and tranquility will come. What do they do in an office? So he's giving a very good example. Actually, this example is very pertinent, and we know this. All of us know this. So he's saying, without having seen or known the officer, one sends an application addressed to his name. So we do. That means we address probably a letter to the what is called the president of this country or any country, or to the local representative from here, Or in the office, that means when we seek for a job, so we have to address a letter, we have sent an application, so the officer's name, just we know, so we address the letter to him. We never saw him, we do not know about him also. So he's saying, without having seen or known the officer, one sends an application addressed to his name. Similarly, send your application to God and you will receive his grace. So the response will come automatically. So the way the response will come from our application in the physical world, that means in our day-to-day world that we do. So in the same way, by repeating the name, unknown God will respond. That means he will receive his grace. So he's saying, and this is from Swami Adbhutananda, who was a completely illiterate disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, but he was wise and he is full of wisdom in spiritual matters. Sri Chaitanya, and we celebrated Sri Chaitanya's birthday. We wanted to celebrate in a bigger way, but because of these circumstances, we could not do it. But still, we do a little worship. So Sri Chaitanya is considered to be one of the greatest proponent of what is called repetition of name or chanting of the name as a spiritual practice for reaching God. So Sri Chaitanya composed a few verses known as the Shikshashtaka on the glory of the divine name. Sri Chaitanya was a very scholarly person, but he renounced everything and took to the path of devotion. And ultimately, we see that he propagated the goodness, that means the benefit of simply chanting the divine name. So Sankirtan, as it is called, that means singing the name together, that in congregation. So he says in that he later on we see that though he was a great scholar, he did not do any scholarly activities. Only one or two verses, which are very well known, that he left for us. And we have on our property in the Garden of Saints a statue, small statue of Sri Chaitanya, and below that statue we have a quotation from that Sikshastram, that means 8 stanzas of spirituality. So he says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhavo Maha Dabagni Nirvapanam, Sreya Koi Raba Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidya Budhu Jivanam. So the meaning is the name cleanses the mirror of the heart. So by repeating the name, the mind becomes pure. So he is poetically saying that the name cleanses the mirror of the heart. Mirror means mind is disturbed, always we see. So by repetition of the name, actually mind can be controlled. And it is also, Patanjali also has said that we know. So it extinguishes the great forest fire, worldly existence. Not only that, by control of the mind and control of the senses also will come. So naturally the desire for enjoyments also will be controlled. So that is, it extinguishes the great forest fire of worldly existence. So then he's saying, Ananda Vardhanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, Pratipadam, Purnamrita Swadanam, Sarvatma Swapanam Param, Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So it is, as it were, the streaming of moonlight on the white lotus of final beatitude. That means final, that means when the moon is up and the lotus has bloomed. Of course, at night it closes, but as the point when the moon rises, just rises, and the lotus is open, actually, that is the most beautiful situation. So it is the life and soul of the bride. The bride means Vidya, that is self-knowledge. It is the ocean of bliss. At every stage, it imparts the sweetness, nectar. So those who know, those who have uttered or joined in Sankirtan, that means sang divine name in congregation or just individually also, know just by chanting actually one can enjoy. That means there is some enjoyment. Joy comes to the mind. In the It is the ocean of bliss. At every stage, it imparts the sweetest nectar. It is, as it were, a soothing bath for all souls. Soothing bath means if somebody takes a bath, that means taking dip in the Ganges or some other nice river in a hot day. So it soothes. So in that way, actually taking the name soothes the soul. Supreme glory be to the singing of the Lord's name. So in that way, he praises this practice of repetition of name as the supreme glory. That means it is the highest glory that one can chant the name and get this benefit. So there is this simple aspect. That means it is a very simple thing, chanting the name, and at the same time, actually, it can bring the supreme glory. So it has been elaborated in this way. According to Sri Chaitanya, the names of the Lord are various. That, of course, we know God has got different names. And he has infused his omnipotent powers into them. So all the names are really powerful. Powerful in a sense that it has got the power of spiritual awakening. By repetition of the name, one can really reach God. That power he has put into that. You will see that the teachers have said that you just repeat the name. And by repeating the name, actually, the power will come. Power will come means that means power inside you. And because the power is there in those names, it will be transferred to you. So in that way, both will join together and ultimately you will be spiritually enlightened. There are no limitations regarding the time for remembering the names. That means, continuing, he has said that for repetition of name, you don't need any formality. For worship service, you need formalities. There should be one image, or there should be some items that needs to be offered. You have to have a seat. You have to have a place to sit. So all those paraphernalias are there. But for repeating the name, there is no time and what is called the speciality of place. So there is no limitations regarding the time for remembering his names. So any time when in the morning or in the evening, while walking or while doing work, we can take the name. So he is continuing, he's saying, describing the qualifications of a devotee, he says that the Lord's name is to be always sung by one who is humbler than a blade of grass. So that has, in continuation of that verse, he's saying that one has to be very humble. Humble in a sense, those who are full of pride, why I should take the name, and have question about the efficacy of the name. So for them, actually, it will not work. One has to be very humble. So we have to be very knowledgeable about the efficacy and also what we need to be successful in the path of repetition of name. So he's saying that describing the qualifications of a devotee, he says that the Lord's name is to be always sung by one who is humbler than a blade of grass, who is more forbearing than a tree, and who, being himself devoid of conceit, bestows honors to others. So these are the qualifications that makes a successful uh, 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 aspirant for repetition of name. That means, so a person who adheres this quality, that means who has these qualifications, for him actually success will come definitely. Ecstatic devotion comes to taking the name of the Lord. The eyes overflow with tears of joy, words are choked in the throat, and all the hairs of the body stand erect with the thrill of joy. So this is the ultimate result. Result in a sense that means uh, one who is deep in singing. Take the example of Sri Ramakrishna. In Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we see that Sri Ramakrishna used to sing, dance with in Sankirtan, that means in repetition of name, and also verses, that means kirtan as it is called, compositions of what is called repetition of name. So then actually we see that tears is to come down and also hairs is to rise on his body. So that is the extreme joy he used to experience while chanting the name of God. So these are the good things that Sri Chaitanya has said about the repetition of name that we find. And so naturally, we need to know why actually it happens. And repetition of name in a Vedantic term or Indian term, in Hindu term, is called japa. Japa means that repetition. That means one name is given, or even in mantra, that means if it is a composition of 2, 3 words, that is also japam. In that way, the word japam means repetition that we find in our scriptures. So the psychology behind this is need to be explored. That means we need to understand why it happens. That means everything does not happen what is called without reason. And we have names, different names, persons' names, objects' names that we know. And even in persons' names, when we repeat, we do not get any spiritual joy. It doesn't come. But in uttering the God's name, actually, we get the joy and have the self-realization. So what is the psychology? So psychology has been explained in this way. So words influence our thoughts, attitudes, perceptions, and responses. So all the words have got an effect on our mind. If somebody utters a word, so it gives some thoughts, gives rise to some thought in our mind. And also we know the way it is uttered, so that attitude also is transferred to us. If somebody is angry, utters some angry word, actually we also get angry. So in that way, it has got that power. And perceptions also, that means the way we shall perceive it, that is also is in the word, how the word will be perceived, the meaning and all those things. And then, of course, responses. That means in what way we shall respond. That is also there in the, that is also called, infused into the power of the word. So these four aspects are there in every word that is uttered. What are they? Thoughts are there, that means what it conveys. Attitude means, that means in what way actually it will react in the mind. Perception, that means in what way we shall perceive it. And also what will be our response, whether we shall be quiet, whether we shall be angry, or whatever, whether we shall laugh. All those responses will come just by listening or hearing to the word. The technique of arousing enthusiasm, courage, and concentration by the use of certain words is a common practice in political campaigns, military training, and advertising. So these are very common things that we see that is employed, that has been discovered. That means the science has been discovered or the techniques have been studied. So in that way, these techniques are employed in our day-to-day life in the political campaigns. That means vote for this person, vote for this person, vote for this person. So he has got this quality. So the name of the person you will see, that means on the road there will be placards and all those things. So name actually, it is instilled. That means the technique is this, that instill the name, so the person will remember and it will give the effect. So this is the psychology behind the what is called repetition of the word, frequent seeing or listening to the word. And that is used in political campaigns and military training also. In military training also, you need to have focus. So naturally, they will command and all those things are given. And according to that commands, the what is called the soldiers actually act. And especially in advertising, it is very common. That means advertisement you see when you see TV, or when you listen to a radio, or when you what is called pass to the freeway, you see there are billboards and it is repeated. That means the same message. That means with pictures and words, all the messages are conveyed, and it is repeated in a sense. That means we'll see that repeatedly and it will enter into our mind. So that is a psychology, how things penetrate by repetition. That is the point. It is the same technique that is used as a spiritual practice to invoke God consciousness. Of course, it is in a reverse way. That means this type of practice was there in ancient, came to us in ancient, from ancient days. But now actually this is used for the secular purposes. So it is the same technique. That means repetition and rousing these emotions or what is called uh, effect on the mind are used for the invoking God's consciousness in our mind. Persistent and systematic repetition of a sacred word or phrase can awaken our latent spiritual urges, transform our character, and enable us to get established in spiritual consciousness. So this is a what is called time-tested fact that this technique has worked for spiritual in the spiritual field. The process of thinking is a form of silent speaking. So when you think, actually, we see, if you observe, you are uttering a word inside your mind as if you are talking inside. So I see a picture, so naturally the picture of Sri Ramakrishna. So naturally I see picture, the mind actually utters the name Sri Ramakrishna. So in that way, all words have a picture behind it. So they go together, Nam and Rup, as it is called in our spiritual literature. So they go together. So once the name is uttered, immediately the picture comes to our mind. Of course, sometimes because of disturbance of the mind, we do not observe this, but it is true that it is always there, this association. So the process of thinking is a form of silent speaking. When we perceive a certain object through our senses, our mind unconsciously repeats the name of the object. So Japa is the reverse process. That means repetition of name, first name, then picture. And as has been said here, that means first when you see any picture, name automatically comes. They go together. So in repetition of name, actually, we use the technique in a reverse way. Repeat the name, immediately the picture will come. So in that way it is done. When we repeat a sacred word consciously, that which is indicated by the word flashes in our mind. That means what is indicated by the word immediately comes to our mind. So Rama means we see the face of Rama in the picture that we have seen. When he uttered the name of Krishna, we imagine all the in the mind that Krishna's picture comes to our mind. So naturally, in that way, it is very common for for our everyday life. So repetition of word creates vibration within us, and these vibrations continue to resonate in layers of our consciousness even long after we have stopped uttering the word. So the technique is this technique or the science is this. When we repeat the name, the pictures come to our mind and they sink into our consciousness, means in the mind stuff, chitta as it is called. That means inside our mind, there are different four different aspects are there. So in the chitta, actually, it gets embedded. As we repeat more, actually, what is called the effect of it is embedded very deeply. The first utterance of the word causes the initial vibration, and each subsequent repetition reinforces and integrates all the previous vibration. So it is just like a what is called putting a nail on the floor. That means you just hammer, and slowly, slowly it will go deeper, deeper, deeper inside. So in the same way, repetition of the name sinks into our consciousness. That means in our mind stuff. So japa helps the seeker to develop liking for the sacred word that he utters. If something is uttered or seen repeatedly, actually, there is the what is called a liking is developed. As you know, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has said, of course, in a different context, but the psychology that or the science is the same. Dhyayata Vishwan Pungsa, that means when something is thought of repeatedly, so actually it gets stuck into our mind. Sangaste supajayate, that means we develop a sort of liking, attachment to that. So he's saying, it is being said, it is a state of God consciousness that is deep and transforming. So to release the name of God is a sure sign of spiritual progress. It is a state of God consciousness that is deep and transforming. The mind develops a particular liking for those things on which it consciously dwells and about which it repeatedly thinks, hears, and speaks. So not only this technique, as you know, that there is a practice and devotion to see the image repeatedly. So darshan as it is called. So we go and see, go to the temple and have just darshan, pay respect, and then come back again, go and then have darshan. So this repetition actually embeds the image inside our mind, which is the purpose of these things to get a permanent image in effect on our mind. So the mind develops particular liking for those things on which it is consciously dwells and about which it repeatedly thinks, hears, and speaks. The basic theory of audiovisual advertising is founded on this principle. So in the modern technique, or modern science, it has been discovered if things are done repeatedly, it will enter into the mind. It will we shall develop liking, and liking will what is called create an attachment to that thing. By repeatedly bombarding us with the sounds and images of a particular object, the advertiser seeks to instill in our mind a desire for that object. The key element in such advertising is repetition. So this is the psychology of repetition. So in the modern circumstances, it is used in advertising, and we can use it in other purposes also. But since ages, since ancient times, in all religion, repetition of the name has been used just to develop love for the God, and also ultimately what is called get spiritual benefit. So Japa takes us nearer and nearer to God and finally brings us face to face with Him. So this is an intense practice of repetition. Ultimately, will bring the vision of God. That we see that has happened to many spiritual seekers, and that has been recorded, and we read their lives, saints are there. So that has been proven truth. Psychologically speaking, as we repeat the name of an object, we move closer and closer to that object. Slowly, slowly, as if we are moving closer and closer. That means impressions are going inside slowly, slowly. So naturally, the object, as if we are approaching the object closer. With the first repetition, an impression of the object is created in the mind. When the impression is made to recur, the mind develops an unconscious liking for the object. In time, with continued repetition, this liking grows into attachment. So, as I was saying in Bhagavad Gita, Sangaste Supajayata, that means by repetition, actually, we develop liking. And the attachment, as the attachment deepens, that there arises a strong desire to possess the object. That is also a second step is that when liking develops, so naturally we want to get that object. For in ordinary life, actually by repetition, when we develop liking, so try to procure that thing. That is the technique of advertisement, and that is what is called. In that way, actually, the success or repetition of advertisement comes. So we shall try to procure that. So here also it is like that. Uh, as the attachment deepens, there arises a strong desire to possess the object. Following the same process, repetition of holy name eventually leads us to God, the source of all holiness. So this is a parallel example or parallel thought that we can easily understand why a repetition of name, japa, the holy name, repetition of holy name will take us to spiritual enlightenment. So japa is an effective means of achieving purification of mind. That means concentration. That means japa brings concentration. Repeated thought actually goes inside, and slowly, slowly, actually it occupies space in the mind. So other things actually will be thrown away. So in that way, it occupies the mind, and mind becomes concentrated. Thoughts that are contrary to our spiritual goal and distracting to our mind are not just passing ideas. They have their deep roots, known in yoga and Vedanta as sanskaras. So thoughts create sanskaras. That means if you repeat some name, say see an image, immediately there is an impression inside our what is called just like a what is called what is in our recording system. So it creates a record there. That means it leaves a record in our mind. So that is called sanskara. The sanskaras are the deposits of countless repetition of thoughts, words, and actions that have formed into subconscious habits. Such seeds of thought cannot be repressed or rationalized away. Now the point is that there are good thoughts and there are bad thoughts. So if the technique or the science is that all the thoughts keeps a impression, leaves an impression on our mind. So what will happen to the unnecessary thoughts, bad thoughts? So the point is this, that means if by good thoughts actually they can be suppressed. That is the process. They are to be that means Such seeds, now let me repeat, the sanskaras are the deposits of countless repetitions of thoughts, words, and actions that have formed into subconscious habits. Such seeds of thought cannot be repressed or rationalized away. So those thoughts, because they are inside, so sometimes we shall come across and they are unnecessary thoughts. So that cannot be eliminated. Once the impression is created, it cannot be eliminated. They are to be sublimated or transcended. That means they have to be transformed or by association with good things, or they have to be what is called transcended. That means they have to be suppressed. That means they should not come out. By forgetting them, if you call it, we can really transcend them. So repetition of holy name of sacred word done methodically and uninterruptedly over a long period with devotion creates a strong counter sanskara of holiness, which first neutralizes the sanskaras of worldliness and then overcomes them. So this is another aspect of the repetition of name. That means bad thoughts or unnecessary thoughts. Bad thoughts, all thoughts are not bad, but definitely bad thoughts are also there. So thoughts which are not really beneficial for spiritual growth, spiritual life, they need to be counteracted. And repetition of name is one of the techniques. That means there are many techniques, but repetition of name is a very simple technique of suppressing them or getting rid of them. Though they will not be completely eliminated, but definitely they will not be able to what is called uh, uh, act in our mind. That means they will not be active. So the sacred text of Vedanta prescribes japa to control speech, which is the first step towards concentration and meditation. Again, by repetition of spiritual words, this God's name, we repeat the same word, God's word. So instead of uttering what is called secular words or unnecessary words, or words which does not really helpful for spiritual growth, we always utter words. That means our expressions are through words. So that time which we devote to uttering unnecessary words, by repeating, actually we it is as if we uh, cleanse our speech. So it helps in the control of the speech also. So that is also another benefit. So ultimately, it is a step towards the concentration and meditation. Such control is not just outward silence, for even when a person is outwardly silent, there continues a monologue within. So by control of the utterance of word, we can control the speech. That is one aspect. But inside the mind also, we utter our words. That means thoughts are nothing but the words that is popping up. So by repetition of the name, that also can be controlled. So repetition of the sacred word keeps the mind occupied with one thought and paves the way for practice of internal silence. That means mind will be clean. That means mind will be pure. So in that way also, outside speech as well as the control of the mind, that means thoughts also will be controlled by a repetition of name. So japa is the supporting practice of meditation. So in that way, those who are inclined to do japam, that means control of the mind, they can derive benefit by repetition of the name in that way. Speech will be controlled and the thoughts also will be controlled, because one thought will be repeated and that also will not allow the other thoughts come into the mind. The state of meditation cannot be reached all of a sudden. To attain that state requires invoking the mood, ingathering of the mind, and concentrating without interruption. And all these are achieved through japa. That means by repetition of name. So all these aspects, that means good mood will come, and then concentration of the mind will come, and concentration without interruption, that also will come, and all these things are achieved, which are really beneficial for meditation, that can be enhanced or brought by practice of japam, repetition of name. So in one way, you can say that meditation is an extension of japa. So repetition of name is sort of a step towards meditation. And japa is meditation with breaks. Japa breaks in a sense, that means in meditation we try to just like a what is called uninterrupted flow of oil, as it is called, from one pitcher to another pitcher. So uninterrupted, but in Japa actually it is interruption. Words are interruption. One word, again a little gap, then another same word. In that way, there's a gap. So it is a sort of with meditation with a little break. While meditation is japa without breaks. So in that way, you can say that meditation is nothing, thinking one thought. So that is also word, and it is also continuous. So that is called meditation. We try to achieve that. So absorption in japa leads to absorption in meditation. So these are the steps that we see that japa can lead to better meditation. So ultimately, it is very helpful. Now, there are different techniques. That means we read books, and in books also there are techniques, and also teachers also can tell by seeing the person's what is called nature. They will be able to tell what type of repetition, in what way the repetition have to be done. So there are techniques, and three techniques are well known. So I would like to talk about them. So methods of performing japa are many, and they vary from tradition to tradition. There are many methods that has been enumerated in our scriptures, or many teachers have left in their teachings. But mainly there are three what is called primary techniques. So the methods generally considered to be orthodox, that means almost all the spiritual teachers have said, are Bachika Japa. Bachika Japa means by this method, the seeker repeats a sacred word audibly. So repetition can be done audibly, it can be done mentally. So Bachika means audibly. So this is the most simple. Probably at the beginning, it is very good to repeat the name audibly. Well, that means you are uttering, you are hearing, and also others are hearing. So that is called audibly. That means the word is heard by everybody. So naturally, you have to at the beginning, it is very useful. Useful means that is it is practicable, and from the very beginning, that means when you have not practiced anything, it is simple and it can be done. Then the second technique is the upam sujapa. This is the method of repeating the sacred word semi audibly by moving only the tongue and lips. So one word is there, I can say Rama. So naturally inside the mind I can say Rama. So in that way, inaudibly, we can also inside we can utter the name. So others will not hear, but probably very likely, or you will be able to perceive the utterance of the word. That is called upamsu. And finally, there is another technique, which is the final one, is called manasajapa. That means there will be no disturbances of the lip, movement of the lip, movement of the lips, and also movement of the tongue. So this method, the sacred method, the sacred word is repeated mentally without allowing the tongue and lips to move. So this is the final stage. So in this way, these three techniques, it can be said that the steps towards the what is called repetition of name. At the beginning, probably it is audibly, then semi-audibly, and then of course it is internal repetition that will be that needs to be achieved. So it has been said in one of our scriptures that Vachika Japa is considered 10 times superior to ceremonial worship. Just to praise the what is called benefit of these techniques, in one of the scriptures it has been said that you do ceremonial worships and all those things, ritualistic worship and all those things. So Vachika Japa, that means audible utterance of the sacred name, is 10 times efficacious, what is called useful and superior to this ceremonial worship. So it is better from the spiritual point of view, that has been said. Then upamsu, that means when we utter just moving the lips and tongue, it is 10 times superior to bachika japa. That means audible, it is semi-audible repetition is 10 times superior to audible repetition. And Manasa Japo is 10 times superior to Upamsu Japo. That means mental repetition is superior to what is called inaudible repetition. So in that way, the supremacy of mental repetition is being praised. So the point is that it is cannot be done just quickly. So we need to practice step by step, and ultimately it is possible to achieve this manasik japa. That state can be achieved. Though considered best, manasik japa is not recommended for those who lack the necessary concentration and alertness of mind. So everybody's mind is not at the same stage. Some people are quiet, and for them, actually, probably these techniques will be very helpful. But by profession or by the sanskaras, as it is called, by nature, if people are disturbed, so how they will repeat the name? So they also need to do spiritual practice. They also have a test for a repetition of name. For them, actually, this Bachiko Japo is good. So that is perfectly all right. For them, first two varieties are regarded as beneficial. At least this audible and inaudible repetition will be useful for them. So the point is that a little bit advanced spiritual seekers, those whose minds are already controlled or has been controlled to some extent, they can really practice what is called this inaudible. That means completely inaudible technique. So other techniques are also there, but one method has been said in some places that I would like to share with you, that uh, some this japam can be done, which I shall come to that mind. That means just like meditation, for the success of a repetition of name also requires what is called certain criterions. That means there should be some about the environment or posture and place and time. All those things are really important in a sense. That means if things are taken care of, as we can understand, repetition of name can be done under any circumstances in any place. And when we are in different settings of life, so naturally, definitely, we can think of that. That means we can repeat the name in under any circumstances. But when you are really very serious and we have time to do repetition properly, so we can give thoughts to these aspects of the success that has been enumerated has come down through the teachings. So first is environment. That means it should be done secretly. So in a cave or in a secluded place, in open field or on the top of a hill or probably in a temple where there is no crowd. So in that way, it is very important that environment has to be taken into consideration for success. Success in a sense that we shall be able to adopt this practice in a good way. Posture is also important. Posture means, of course, in Sankirtan there is dancing, all those things. That is outward expression. But for a spiritual seeker, sometimes that is good in congregation, and sometimes it is good on certain occasions. But it is not possible always to dance while chanting the name. So we have to sit down quietly, keeping the back straight the way we do in meditation, and also all other all other techniques that we take into account while doing meditation is applicable to the repetition of name. That means what is called during the sitting, one should be completely undisturbed and mind should be quiet, and one should not really utter any word, and also should not get angry, should not feel hungry, and what is called all those little things. If they are taken care of, actually, the repetition of name will be very successful. Place, as I told you, environment as place actually go together. And especially it has been said that in temples where or places of pilgrimage where there is a record that many people or even some people have success in having spiritual enlightenment. Repetition of name will be good there. Suppose Dakshineshwar Kali temple. So we know Sri Ramakrishna has enlightenment there. Not only that, other direct disciples also did meditation there. Swami Vivekananda also had the vision of Mother Kali there. So in that way, that place has become sacred. So that type of place, if we have, if we get such places where this type of history is there, association is there, and if we go there and do repetition of name, just like meditation also, it will be successful. That means there is a possibility of success more in those places than in a place where there is no record or history of this type of association. Then time is also there. Time, that means it is important to do the repetition of name just like meditation in a fixed hour. In the morning, in the evening, or according to our own convenience, we can fix some time every day and or several times every day. And that way we repeat the name. So mind will be just like hunger. Hunger means that means in the morning when you get up and you take breakfast every day, say about 8 o'clock or something. So you feel hungry while coming to the kitchen. So in the same way, that means if you do a repetition of name, Japo every day at 8 o'clock, so naturally mind will be hungry. That means it will feel to do what is called the spiritual practice, just like meditation at that appointed hour. So we should fix some hours or time when we can do that, and that will be very useful for a repetition of name. Then, of course, counting. Counting is also there, and for repetition of name when we are not in a what is called fixed place, the counting will be difficult. So the repetition of name can be done audibly or inaudibly according to circumstances without keeping the number. But definitely teachers have prescribed there are different numbers. If we can keep, then that will be useful. So that will give the what is called impetus for us to repeat the name so many times a day, or so many times in one sitting, or so many times in 1 month. In that way, if you fix some numbers, then actually we get the impetus to do that. Usually, when repetition is done according to Hindu custom or Vedantic custom, we repeat at least one in one sitting 108 times. So there are many explanations why it is not 100 or 99 or 101, why it is 108. One of the simplest explanation is that for 100 repetition you do for yourself, that means for your own spiritual growth, and 8 repetition you do for others, because so that you share your spiritual benefit with others. That is also very important, because your environment also need to be purified. So in that way, keeping the number of count is very has been it has been found that it helps in the growth of spirituality. Then, of course, the articulation is also there. So one should utter the words appropriately. For those who cannot utter the appropriately, they need to learn that technique. Of course, articulation will be difficult for suppose the word is in Sanskrit. So Keshava or Krishna or Rama or Ramachandra. So naturally, if a person who is not versed in Sanskrit or Indian tongue, so for them it will be difficult at the beginning to utter it properly. So the point is that one has to do as far as possible, as correctly as possible, or utter the name as perfectly as possible. That is also helpful. It has been found by practice. But that doesn't mean that if you cannot utter the name appropriately, you should not utter the name. It is not like this. So Sri Ramakrishna has said that if sometimes small child cannot utter the name of father, papa, so some say ba or pa or in that way also. But father knows that the child is calling me or uttering my name. So in the same way, even if it is not articulated properly, one need not be afraid. One should utter the name as far as possible with proper articulation. And sit and all those things are there. It is more or less similar to what is called practice of meditation. And of course, definitely alertness. That means when the mind in meditation also, so what is called goes here and there. So in repetition of the name, it should not be said that mechanically I am doing, so it is done. It is not like this. Mind should be concentrated on the object. So in that mind and rupa, nama and rupa go together. So it will be a sort of meditation also when we repeat the name. In fact, the best thing for spiritual seekers is to utter the name at the same time, imagine the image of the image represented by the name. In that way, those two things should go together. Then these are the what is called simple techniques that has been said that has been taught by the teachers. So let me share a few what is called what the great teachers have said about the repetition of name. That means in that way we shall be what is called enthused to repeat the name as a spiritual practice. So Manu Samhita, that means it is a very ancient book of law, and law in a sense that though it is a book covering every aspect of life, it has got spiritual instructions also. So Manu has said the spiritual man attains his goal through japa alone, whatever else he may or may not perform. So the only one technique is enough for one to practice. That means repetition of name. You need not do meditation. You need not do ritualistic worship. You need not do what is called study of scriptures. So only by repetition of name one can have the highest realization that has been said in ancient times by Manu. Then in Mahabharata, it has also been said that which does away with the sins committed in one's whole lifetime is japa. That means by repetition of name, bad thoughts, even the bad deeds, bad sanskaras can be what is called flushed out. That is the Mahabharata has said. So japa is said to be the foremost of all dharmas. That means all the practices that has been prescribed in the scriptures, japa is the supreme, simple and supreme, and that has been said in Mahabharata. Then Lord Krishna himself has said in Bhagavad Gita, of words, I am the monosyllable O. That is a sacred word that has come down to us from the Vedic age, sacred word. The repetition of that actually takes us to the highest realization. That means one can realize ultimate reality just by repeating the name, repeating the syllable Om. So he is saying of sacrifices and the sacrifice of japa. Of all spiritual practices, Lord Krishna has said in Vibhuti Yoga that I am the japa. That is, that shows the superiority of this practice. Then Patanjali also said that means we are meditators, so naturally we read Raja Yoga, and in Raja Yoga also we read the what is called Patanjali Yoga aphorisms. So there also we find he has said, by the repetition of mantra comes the realization of the chosen deity. One can realize the chosen deity, have the vision of deity by repetition of name. So he has also said Ishwar Pranidhana. Ishwar Pranidhana has a broad meaning by doing worship, by practice of devotion, and also that includes repetition of the name. So in that way, it is approved, if you call it, by the teacher of meditation, Patanjali. Then in Bhagavatam also, that is a great book of devotion as well as what is called knowledge that has come down to us. So it says the names of the Lord, be they uttered with or without the knowledge of their power and holiness, destroy the sins of man as fire consumes fuel. A potent drug, even when used casually, without any awareness of its powers, manifests its inherent curative quality. Even so does the utterance of what is called utterance of the Lord's name, Bhagavatam says. So this is a very interesting example. That means medicine. Suppose we do not know the efficacy of the medicine, but doctor prescribes, you take Tylenol or such a medicine, your headache will go away. So by not knowing how actually these things happen, just by taking the name actually, one can get rid of the what is called all the sins, as it were, destroy all sins. That means you will be cured. So just like medicine without knowledge how it cures, you can get cured by taking the medicine. In the same way, by repeating the name, you can what is called, you can gather a power of spirituality and holiness. Sri Chaitanya, of course, has said that once you take the name, all your sin vanishes. You repeat it a second time, and Sri Krishna is yours. So he has given this very incentive type of advice. That means just take one time name of Lord, and your sins will vanish. Take the second time, you take the second time utter the name of God, and Lord Krishna will appear before you. Then in case Sri Ramakrishna also have said, repeat his name and sins will disappear. Thus he will destroy lust, anger, the desire for creature comforts, and so on. So not only the what is called you'll be able to realize God, but at the beginning naturally we have different types of tendencies. That means desires and all those things, and also different types of impurities, as it's called lust, anger, and such other things. So all those things will be taken care of by repetition of that. So Sri Ramakrishna has said. Then Holy Mother has said, if meditation is not possible, do japa. Realization will come through japa. That means if you cannot do meditation, meditation actually requires a lot of practice and also a lot of preparation. So it is not for everybody under every circumstances. That is true. Sometimes we can do meditation, sometimes we cannot do. Suppose I am sick, so naturally I cannot sit and I cannot, I have fever, so I cannot really, what is called, mind is not really in good condition. But repetition of name we can do under any circumstances. That is the point. So in this way, we see that all the great teachers have said, if you go through the spiritual literature, you'll find that all of them have praised the benefit of repetition of name. So now I shall conclude by playing one song, and this song is composed by one. There are not too many songs. It is a Hindi song. Some of you must have heard it, and I have brought a record by. This is sung by Swami Purushottomananda. He was a very well-known Swami of our order. He has passed away, and he was equally good singer, good orator, and also a good writer. So all those three good qualities he had, but unfortunately he passed away. But he has left some of the, we have some records of his singing. So this is Nama Japana Kyun Chhod Diya. So one composer names, or spiritual seeker names Khalos, he has composed this. क्रोध न छोड़ा झूठ न छोड़ा सद बचन क्यों छोड़ दिया झूठे जग में दिल लालचा कर आसल रतन क्यों छोड़ दिया कौड़ी को तू खूब संभाला लाल रतन क्यों छोड़ दिया जेहि सुमिरन ते अति सुख पावे सो सुमिरन क्यों छोड़ दिया खालस एक भगवान भरोसे तन मन धन क्यों न छोड़ दिया Why have you given up repeating God's name? You did not give up anger and falsehood. Why did you give up only truth? Falling a prey to temptation in this unreal world. Why did you give up the real abode? Clinging to the worthless kauri. Kauri means in those days the kauri used to be one of the, what is called, just like pennies, something like that. Why did you give up invaluable gem? Why did you give up the remembrance of that name which gives so much happiness? Why did you not entrust your body, mind, and wealth to the one pure God?
छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, क्रोध न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया छोटे जग में दिल लगा करे, छोटे जग में दिल लगा करे, असल वतन क्यों छोड़ दिया, छोटे जग में दिल लगा करे, असल वतन क्यों छोड़ दिया, कौड़ी को खूब संभाला, कौड़ी को खूब संभाला, लाल रतन को छोड़ दिया, कौड़ी को खूब संभाला, लाल रतन को छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, जी सुमिरन ते अति सुख पावे, जी सुमिरन ते अति सुख पावे, सो सुमिरन क्यों छोड़ दिया, जी सुमिरन ते अति सुख पावे, सो सुमिरन क्यों छोड़ दिया, काल सहित भगवान भरोसे, काल सहित भगवान भरोसे, तन मन धन क्यों छोड़ दिया, काल सहित भगवान भरोसे, तन मन धन क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, कीर्तन छोड़ा, जोतन छोड़ा, कीर्तन छोड़ा, जोतन छोड़ा, सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया तुम, नाम जपन क्यों, नाम जपन क्यों, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया।
So we have a few announcements. So from April, that means this week, next week, that means April 27 to May 3rd. On Wednesday, April 29th, we have the Uddhava Gita via Zoom at 7:30. So we shall continue via Zoom everything. Friday on May 1st at 6 p.m., Apuraksha Anubhuti. That is a discussion group will be conducted by Swami Swadhanananda. Saturday, we shall have the discourse of Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna at 7:30. That is May 2nd. And then Sunday, next Sunday, on May 3rd, the subject of talk is dealing with loneliness and boredom, insights from yoga. And the talk will be given by Swami Ishodhananda via Zoom as well as YouTube Live. So all the links you can have on our website. That will be what is called put on the website. So please enjoy from your. That means we are all. Uh, uh, I say that we are home delivering spiritual food to you. So this is the situation, circumstances, the great benefit that you are getting. So let me conclude with benediction. Om madhuvatharitayati मधुक्षरन्ति सिन्धवः माधीर्न सन्तोषधिः मधुनक्तो मुतोषसि मधुमात् पार्थिवगङ्रजः मधुदौरस्तु न पिता मधुमान्न वनस्पतिः मधुमागङ्गस्तु सूर्यः मा दीर्घावो भवन्तु नः ॐ मधु मधु मधु. Sweet by the winds and the oceans give forth blessedness. May the earths and plants bring us health and happiness. Sweet unto us with the nights and dawns. May every particle of Mother Earth be charged with blessings. May the heavens shower us with benediction. Sweet unto us with the noble forest trees. Sweet unto us with the shining sun. Sweet unto us with the all living creation. Om, sweetness, harmony, peace. Thank you very much. And if you have any question, you can definitely send by email. And